All right, so welcome everyone to our webinar today on personal budgeting. So I'm just going to run through a couple of things first. So my name is Greg Verhoef. I'm going to be your moderator for the webinar today. So I'm going to manage the questions, any questions that you guys have or any problems with the webinar that you guys have. And I'm also going to make sure that everything just runs smoothly for us today. So if you haven't used the Zoom webinar or meetings before, we'll just run through a couple of things. So on the bottom left there, you've got the audio settings. So you can select what speaker you use and you can test that, that your speakers and everything are working. If you've got any questions during the webinar, you can use the Q&A button and you can submit questions for us. And we'll collect all the questions and we'll answer them all at the end of the webinar. And if you need to leave the meeting at all, you can push the leave meeting at the bottom right, and you can rejoin if you need to using your webinar link. So our panelist today is Greg Verhoef. So he's the principal of Greg Verhoef Chartered Accounting, which is a small practice of chartered accounting firm with a small team of 5 based in Andersons Bay in Dunedin. So welcome, Greg, and I will let you take over.
Okay, thank you very much, Shana. It's great to have someone here helping with the technical side of giving a presentation online. This is our venture into webinars, and it's the first time we've done this. So please bear with us if things don't quite go as planned, but this is very much a trial run for us, and we've picked a nice, hopefully not too complicated topic. Shouldn't go for, I wouldn't imagine, more than half an hour, but it's a chance for us to give this a trial and a chance to share some of our knowledge with people out there. So yeah, thank you for joining us, and we'll just kick on into it. So this one actually did appeal to me quite a bit because we do lots of business sets of accounts for our clients, and at the end of the year we'll sit down and review those accounts. The clients sign them off. We do the tax returns and all that sort of stuff that we do once a year. And quite often clients are surprised by the drawings figures out of their businesses and how much money they take out of their business. And it just occurs to me that some people have no idea how much they're really spending on a day-to-day or weekly basis. And at the end of the year, when you go, hey, you've pulled out X amount of dollars, they go, no, I've never spent that. I can't have taken that much out of my business. And it's, sort of, it's part of running your business is also keeping track of your personal spending. And the idea of business is to make money. That's the goal, is we want to make some profits. And then it's a matter of do you use those profits to reinvest in growing the business, or do you take them out for yourself as living expenses? So the more you take out for yourself or your drawings, the less you have to invest in the business to grow the business. And if your strategy is to grow the business and you want to leave funds in it, then you need to be careful about how much you're taking out for yourself. It's always easy to spend more, not always easy to cut back. All right. So brief agenda today. We're going to chat about what a personal budget is, some of the benefits that we expect to get from a budget, the key elements that go into creating a budget. We've got a template there which we'll talk through. If you haven't already had a copy of that sent to you, we'll send a copy out after the presentation today. How to create a bit of accountability around your budget, and what sort of next steps you might want to take to get some sort of personal budget underway. Okay. So what's a personal budget? Well, it's quite different from a business budget. I mean, a business is a different sort of kettle of fish, I suppose. A personal budget is about, planning your own income and how you're going to use that income towards your living costs, your housing, your food, your clothing, and what you want to put away for saving. it's not something that you should just do once a year and forget about. The benefit of personal budgeting really comes from the tracking of costs as you go through the year, tracking everything on a monthly basis, and sort of having a look at what you're spending against your budget and working out how you can change habits, make improvements to achieve your budget, or maybe you've got to change your budget because you've been a bit too ambitious. So it's a forward-facing plan for the next 12 months. We break it down into months and we allocate our income and expenditure against those months. In a simple reality, it's a bit about planning ahead, about how you intend to spend your income over that next 12 months. Okay, some of the benefits of personal budgeting. There are many benefits. Some of these are obvious and financially focused. Others are focused on reducing stress and improving communication, especially with couples. Communication between partners and husband and wife around money is often difficult. So having a bit of a system of sitting down and reviewing your budget helps alleviate some of those problems. It's about having more control over your money, so that you can focus on the things that you can do. It helps you to focus on your money goals, create a better awareness of where your money is going, and therefore help you to adapt your habits about how you might spend your money. Personal budget, it also acts as a bit of an early warning system. You know, if you're constantly spending a lot on certain types of entertainment, or overspending on clothing, or overspending on these things, if you're not tracking it, quite often it just gets away on you. And if you do track it, and you can sort of see that, gee, I seem to be, always overspending on clothing each month, maybe I do need to cut that back a wee bit. So it's about trying to correct those habits before they become major problems, and you're running out of money, you're having to borrow off friends, or you're having to borrow from loan sharks or finance companies, or those sorts of things. It's about trying to live within your means and trying to head off problems down the track. As I mentioned, it's a good way of building budgeting skills with your spouse and communicating with each other about what you should be spending, and that can be quite challenging, especially everyone's brought up a bit differently and comes from different families, and everyone has different opinions on how they should budget or where they should spend their money. But if you don't deal with it, it becomes a bigger problem down the track, rather than having a clear plan about what you both want to achieve from your budget. So at the end of the day, the budget's there, it's a tool there to help you with creating your own wealth, about creating your savings and achieving the goals you want to out of your life. From a financial perspective, having that control over what you spend allows you to spend it on the things that you really want to spend it on. Right, why people avoid budgeting. There's a perception about a whole lot of extra work to create the budget and to monitor it, and yes, there is a bit of extra work, but I wouldn't imagine you should be able to do this in under an hour a month. It shouldn't be a half-day exercise. It should be something you can do after tea one night with your bank statements and your credit card statements, and pull things together. It's trying to put things off because you're worried about an hour or so a month is a really silly thing to do. Sometimes people think that budget means living a pauper's lifestyle and living on the bare minimum, and it's not really about that. It's about setting your goals and living to it. And if your budget allows and you want to spend lots of money on dining out and going to the movies and spending on stuff, then you put that in your budget. So it's a bit of a this is what I plan to do, and we can afford to dine out twice a week, and that's part of your budget, and that's what you plan to do. So it doesn't mean that you have to do everything on the bare minimum all the time. Don't know how to prepare one. Well, you're attending today's seminar, so that's really good. So you're learning a few skills, but there are lots of online YouTube clips you can watch about how to prepare budgets, and get some extra help that way. Where else got to? Fear of what they'll find. Well, it's about yeah, looking at those hidden questions of yourself, I suppose, and if you just keep ignoring them, then you never answer them either. So yeah, it pays to address these sorts of things. All right, next one. Components of a personal budget. So the first thing is really have a think about what your goals are. You know, and if you're a couple that are doing this, you need to sit down together with a beer or a glass of wine and have a relaxed conversation about what it is that you want to achieve with your finances. Do you want to buy a house? Do you need to create some savings to get a deposit for a house? Do you want to go on a holiday somewhere? Have you got quite a bit of debt, but a credit card debt, and want to get rid of some of that stuff so that you're not stressing about having to manage that debt all the time? Having some common goals is really the key, one of the key elements, because if you don't have a goal and you don't know where you want to go, then your budget isn't really, you won't have that motivation to see the budgeting through. But if you set your goal and stuck a picture of the bloody holiday you want to go up on the wall, and you want to do this in 18 months' time, and you need to save $5,000 for it, then that becomes a motivation to create your budget and to stick to your budget and take that reward once you get there. Yeah. So once you've got a goal, we start to look at some of the technicalities side of it, I suppose. So you want to work out what your income is. That can be wages. If you're a business person, it could be drawings. If you've got rental properties, it could be rents. It could be investments from investment income, various forms of income. Expenses, we tend to group them under different headings. I think on our template there's 8 or 9 different headings that you can see on the screen there. So we'll have a look at that shortly. As far as working out your income, most people probably got a good idea what their wages are and what their monthly income is. The spending side of it, in order to do your budget, you probably actually need to sit down and analyse what you had spent in the last month or couple of months. And it's a matter of sitting down with your bank statements and even just a sheet of paper and creating those groupings on that bit of paper and just putting each transaction from your bank statement under a grouping. Or you can use a spreadsheet. And, benefit of a spreadsheet, of course, is it'll do the adding up for you. But you want to get a bit of a handle on how much are you spending on food, how much are you spending on entertainment, how much are you spending on housing, and all those things. What you've spent in the last 4 weeks or the last 2 months, so that you can then use that information for preparing your budget going forward. If you know that you're spending $1,000 a month on food and you've worked that out, there's no point trying to budget for 500 because you're never going to be able to cut it back that far. But so you need that sort of base information first. So we create our income, we work out our expenses, and then the most important thing again is just tracking that going forward and seeing if you are following your budget, and that's where you get the benefits from seeing how your actual spending compares with the budgeting spending and what you can do to try and align the two. All right, so we're going to just swap screens here. So we're going to jump into the actual budget template. Cool. So have we set this out here, Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone should have had this already, and it's a 3-page spreadsheet. The first page there is some instructions on how to use it. Just a wee bit of for someone who's not running this, wants to have a go at it. This is some instructions about how to use it. So we start off, if we can just jump onto the second tab, which is our personal budget tab, and that's really big. Can we make it a bit smaller? Wrong way.
Oh, Mike, you've got the zooms.
Okay. There we are. Look at that. Oh, that's better. I don't know if I changed much in the end. Anyway, all right, so we start off here. We can take our name on the top here. The end date for our budget. So it's normally, you're doing a budget for a year, so the end date would normally be a year ahead. So we're going to go 31 of, is it 31 October? 31 October, we're doing 8. Okay, we won't hit that button. So we just put our date and our name in there, and then we come down a bit and we have this first section here, which is about the income, monthly income, and we have a frequency column here that we enter in the frequency of our income and the amount. So, so if we're getting wages and it's a monthly amount, we leave that on monthly, and we can put in here that it's $4,000 a month, or whatever your wages are. So this is the net amount that you get in your hand. Our budget is always just the net amount that we receive, not the bit before tax. And maybe I have a bit of other income here. I do a lot of jobs on the weekend or something and get a wee bit of extra income. There we are. So, yeah. So I hadn't enabled the content there, so it wasn't updating our spreadsheet. So yeah. So as you enter the amounts in, you can see I've put the monthly amount in there, and it's populated it across each month to give us an income for each month and a total. Now, if I've got a regular income that changes each month, so there's other income here. You know, maybe in December I do quite a lot of extra work, so maybe I can just come in and overtype those months that are a bit different, and just put them up and down to what they should be. All right, so that's how we enter our income, and then our expenses. So there's 9 groups. So we've got household expenses, food, apparel, children, medical, insurance, transport, lifestyle, and other debt. And it's really just a matter of working through each of those things. There's a lot of headings in here you may not use, or maybe you will use all of them. You can't change the headings; these are all preset. But the one at the bottom that says "other," you can put in there whatever you want to put in there if you want to add some extra things in there, cat food or whatever it is. And then again, the same as we entered our income, we do the same with our expenses. So our mortgage, we might be paying $600 a month, so we put that in there. Our rates, there is no quarterly option, but we might know that our rates is $500 a quarter, so you can just put them in on the quarterly. Oh, too many zeros. And you just work through your phone and internet might be $100 a month. That one's easy. Yeah, you just need to work through each of those line items, and this is where it's handy if you've gone back and analysed the last couple of months and got a bit of an idea on what you're spending on food and rent and mortgage and all those things, so that you can populate it into the different fields on the spreadsheet. So as you add that across, it totals it up, and if we go back up to the top here, you'll see it's actually building up our wee pie charts here, our donut rings. So on this side here we can see our annual income. At this stage we've got 50,400. 95% of it is from wages and 5% from other. And our expenses are slowly populating here as we've been building them up. And so far we've entered about 17,500. 48% is household and 52% food. And over this side here it shows our surplus for the year. At the moment we're not spending very much, so yeah. So hopefully you get an idea how that populates up. So, actual performance. Oh, sorry. Yep. Yeah. So once you've got that all put in, then again the thing is to track your actual expenditure. So our next tab over is our actual performance tab, and this is very similar to the other one. But in this case, we put in what we've actually received in income and expenses. So in our wages, maybe my wages for the month was actually 6,000. So once we put one in, it actually then pulls across the budget to compare it against. Same with our mortgage. Maybe our mortgage was on budget, so $600 there. Maybe we spent $150 on the phone, and our food was $1,250. All right, so that's now, where do we see the total? Up at the top. It's just off the screen, isn't it? So this spreadsheet's a bit wider, but we can see a year-to-date accumulating total for what we should have spent and what we have spent and what our variance for the budget is. So we get that variance broken down by each line item down here as you go down, and at the top there's a total variance. So at this stage we've got a surplus of $1,250 more than our budget. So yeah, to work out how much you're spending, again, you've got to sit down with your bank statements once a month and total everything up, and either put them into a spreadsheet to accumulate the totals, or write them out on a bit of paper. There are some other options we'll talk about in a minute, but I'll just show you an example of one that's been completed. Right, so this is one that's been all filled in, and it's got all the budget fields all filled out. It's got our nice wee graphs at the top showing our annual income and our annual expenses and our anticipated surplus deficit for the year. And do we have the other tab as well? Yeah, this is our variance report showing the actual for each month and the budget for each month, and building up the total budget and the variance for the year, broken down by income and expenses. So we can see that the red things are where over here the red things are where stuff hasn't gone so well. So our actual dividend income wasn't as much as we'd budgeted, and the same down here with our expenses. So our rates were more than we had budgeted. All the red items sort of highlight the things that were over budget, and the green ones highlight the ones that were under budget. All right, okay. Back to our presentation. All right, creating a bit of accountability. So it's all about, keeping to your budget, and if you just do it once and chuck it in the drawer and never look at it again, it's not going to help you at all. So just don't forget to do that tracking and compare it, to review how your spending is going against your budget. And it's a learning exercise as much as anything else. So if you find that you are spending more on certain things, then maybe you actually have to adjust your budget to allow for more for some of those things. And maybe you can cut back on some other bits if you still need to keep your savings to a certain level, or if you need to stretch out your goal a bit further. Say, hey, I can't make that holiday in 18 months, but hey, in 2 years' time we're going to make it. And that's the sort of information you can get out of doing that tracking against your budget, seeing how your surplus is growing and whether you're achieving your results that you wanted to get. Working together as a couple, keep each other accountable. You guys if you set this goal and you set this budget, then you're only going to achieve your goals if you both work together to achieve what you wanted to achieve. Try to have a bit of fun with it. If you do make your goal, then maybe budget for a night out and have a bit of fun to go, hey, we've got our surplus for the month. Let's go and have a dinner out somewhere and enjoy a bit of those wins that we've made for the month. It's also a good thing to teach your kids. It's a good skill to learn. And if you've got kids and you can show them how to do this, even if it's just with their pocket money for a bit of fun, but the fact that they see you sitting down and taking the time to do a bit of budgeting, kids look at their parents and go, well, mum and dad always did this and they managed to achieve their goals, and I need to do the same. Yeah. Next steps. Where are we? So personal budget is that. It's your personal budget. It doesn't belong to anyone else. It's you to help. It's a tool to help you. pick up the spreadsheet we've given you and work with that. If you get stuck, don't let that put you off. Just have a rethink and work through what you need to do to correct things, and get support if you need it. Some people do end up in quite bad financial positions, and there is like Dunedin Budget Advisory Service does a really good service out there for people who have got themselves into a lot of debt and really need some help, and they will sit down and help people to do a budget. And give them some support to pay off their debt and get themselves back on top of their finances. I did say I was going to mention a couple of bits of software, but I haven't, and I can't remember where I've missed them now. No. We will send something out once I find it. There was two online budgeting systems that you can use, and I had them in my notes, and we've skipped them somewhere, and I can't see them. But maybe we'll just email that out with what they were. Here we go. Oh, just on half an hour. That's not bad timing. So what we can do to help. So we're a chartered accounting firm. So prominently we work with businesses, business people, and if we've got clients on this 10 years webinar, if you want me to help with a bit of your personal budget, then we can do that, and the extra fee for that may not be too much. If you're not a client and you just like to have a sort of a one-on-one session for about an hour, where we will sit down and help you with putting your budget together. You need to have done the groundwork and figured out what your income expenses are, but we'll help you put the budget together and give you some ideas and a bit of coaching. We can do a one-off session for about $140. If we're a big zero practice, and we can set up a Xero for personal users, links into your credit card and your personal bank account, and sucks the data across into that each month. We can show you how to create the budget in Xero, how to track your expenses in Xero, and how to prepare reports of your actual spending versus budgeting. So rather than using the spreadsheet, we'd use the accounting package. So sort of bundle that together with a 2 monthly review meeting. So it's sort of like a half-hour catch-up, and we'll sit down and just see how you're going. So every second month, we're going to create a bit of that accountability by sitting down with you and just seeing how your spending is tracking, and that would be $80 a month for that service. The free personal template thing we've already sent out, so you've got that for nothing. You've got this webinar as a free webinar, so that's something else for nothing. And if we've got some business clients out there, and you're thinking maybe we should change accountants or see if I've got something we can offer your business, happy to have a chat, shout your coffee, have a drink, and see what we can do to work with you. So I think that brings us to about the end of our webinar. Do we have any questions?
Fantastic, thank you. So again, if you have any questions, you can click the Q&A button at the bottom and submit your questions. We do have a couple of questions to start with. So when is the best time to begin my budget?
You need to pick a date to start from, and normally it's easier to work with calendar months. And you can see from our spreadsheet there, everything was dated in months. So I would probably now be looking to start, do your planning, set your goals, get your expenses together, and set a budget that starts from, say, the 1st of November onwards, which will be a tricky period, of course, because it's got Christmas in there, and people do usually spend a bit more at Christmas time than they ever plan to. But yeah.
Cool. And how often do I actually need to review my budget?
Well, the more often you want to be doing it at least once a month, and it's that review process which is the really important bit. Being able to see how your spending went for the month. So you'd want to do that in the first week of each month. So when you come to, if we set our budget from the 1st of November, then on the first week in December, you'd want to analyse your expenses, what you spent in November, and compare that against your budget, and then you know, see if you're on budget, tracking up, tracking down, or whether you need to modify things.
Fantastic, cool. So that's all the questions we have, unless there's any more come through shortly. Other than that, I'll leave it to you to wrap up.
Okay. No, I just want to thank everyone for taking their time today to come and listen to us. We hope we've provided some useful information. It'd be nice to get a bit of feedback. And we're planning to sort of run one of these each month, and we've got different topics sort of being lined up. And if you found it useful, spread the word. We'd love to get lots more people to come along to these things. It's part of us doing something back for our community and giving a bit of our time to help people out, but it's also about us looking for clients and stuff too. So anyway, I think that's about it. I want to thank Shana for making all the technical stuff work, because it is quite a bit, and I hope everyone has enjoyed today's experience.
Fantastic, cool. Thank you very much, everyone.